Today we're diving deep into the mysteries of the universe, exploring 5 powerful ways to communicate with the cosmos and manifest your wildest dreams. Get ready to tap into the infinite intelligence of the universe and unleash your true potential. So, how can we talk to the universe like a pro? Let's begin with the first way, setting clear intentions. Picture it like this. Intention is the magical key that unlocks the door to the universe's treasure trove. When you clearly state what you want, it's like sending a special message out into the universe, saying, hey, this is what I'm after. But it's not just about saying the words, it's about believing in them with all your heart. Imagine your intention as a big, bold dream, and you're the artist painting it onto the canvas of the universe. Take a moment to close your eyes and really see it in your mind's eye. Visualize your intention as if it's already come true. Feel the excitement bubbling up inside you, like fizzy bubbles in a soda pop. Let yourself get swept away by the joy of it all, like a kid on Christmas morning. And most importantly, feel the deep sense of gratitude as if you've just been given the greatest gift in the world. Your intention is like a tiny seed that you're planting in the rich soil of the universe. And just like a seed, it's full of potential, ready to sprout and grow into something beautiful. Now let's take a deeper dive into the second way. Embody elevated emotions. You know, thoughts are like the words your brain speaks, but feelings are like the music your body dances to. When you blend your clear intentions with elevated emotions like love, gratitude, and joy, you create a magical energy that sings in harmony with your dreams. Imagine your intention as a beautiful melody and your elevated emotions as the heartwarming lyrics that give it meaning. As you sing this song with every fiber of your being, you're creating a symphony of energy that resonates with the universe. Feel into your intention with all your senses. Let your heart swell with love like a balloon filling up with warm air. Feel the gratitude bubbling up from deep within your soul like a fountain overflowing with joy. Let every cell in your body vibrate with excitement and anticipation, as if you're about to embark on the greatest adventure of your life. Your emotions are like the wind beneath your wings, lifting your intentions higher and higher. They're the fuel that propels your dreams into manifestation. So don't hold back, let yourself feel deeply and passionately. When you embody elevated emotions, you're not just thinking about your intentions, you're living them. You're immersing yourself in the experience as if it's already happening. And when you do that, you're sending out a powerful signal to the universe that says, this is what I want, and I believe it's already mine. Now let's explore the third way. Practice mental rehearsal. Your brain is like a supercomputer that can make your dreams come true. It's powerful and capable of rewiring itself to bring your desires to life. That's why it's important to spend time mentally rehearsing your intentions as if they've already happened. Imagine closing your eyes and stepping into a movie where you're the star living your dream life. Picture every detail vividly. Where you are, who you're with, what you're doing, and how you feel. Feel the excitement, joy, and fulfillment as if it's all happening right now. By immersing yourself fully in this mental experience, you're telling your brain and the universe that this is what you want to manifest. Repetition is key. The more you practice visualizing your desired outcome, the more deeply it gets embedded into your subconscious mind. Think of it like planting a seed in fertile soil. The more you water and nourish it, the more likely it is to grow into a beautiful flower. As you engage in mental rehearsal, your brain starts to form new neural pathways that support your vision. These pathways act like roads that lead you towards your desired destination. With each visualization session, these roads become clearer and more defined, making it easier for you to manifest your intentions. But it's not just about seeing the end result, it's also about feeling it. Emotions are like the fuel that powers your manifestation engine. When you infuse your visualizations with positive emotions like gratitude, excitement, and happiness, you amplify their manifestation power. It's like adding rocket fuel to your dreams. The more you feel the emotions associated with your desired outcome, the faster it will come into fruition. So, as you visualize, let yourself fully experience the joy and fulfillment of living your dream life. Now let's explore the fourth way. Check in with yourself regularly. This step involves taking small breaks throughout the day to reconnect with yourself and ensure that your energy is aligned with your intentions. It's like taking a moment to pause and recalibrate your internal compass to stay on course towards your goals. During these check-ins, pay attention to your thoughts and emotions. If you find yourself slipping into negativity or doubt, gently guide yourself back to a state of positivity and alignment. It's important to remember that your thoughts and feelings act like signals that you're sending out to the universe. So, it's essential to ensure that these signals are in harmony with your desires and intentions. Imagine your thoughts and feelings as radio waves broadcasting out into the world. When they're positive and aligned with your goals, they send out a clear signal that attracts similar positive energy back to you. However, when negativity creeps in, it's like static interference disrupting the signal, making it harder for the universe to respond to your intentions. By regularly checking in with yourself and realigning your energy, you're essentially fine-tuning your signal to the universe. This practice not only helps you stay focused on your goals, but also enhances your ability to manifest them effortlessly. Think of it as tuning into your favorite radio station. When you're perfectly tuned in, you enjoy clear reception and uninterrupted music. Similarly, when you're aligned with your intentions, you experience smoother manifestation and greater success in achieving your desires. Now let's take a closer look at the fifth way: trust and surrender. This step is all about having faith in the universe's wisdom and letting go of control to allow the natural flow of life to guide you. It's about understanding that the universe is like a supportive friend, always looking out for your best interests and orchestrating events behind the scenes to bring your desires to fruition. Imagine the universe as a skilled magician, weaving its magic to align circumstances and opportunities in your favor. Even when things seem uncertain or challenging, trust that there's a higher purpose at play, and everything is happening for your ultimate good. Often doubts and fears can creep in, casting shadows of uncertainty on our path. But it's crucial to recognize and release these negative emotions, understanding that they only serve to hold us back from embracing the abundance that awaits us. By surrendering these doubts and fears, we open ourselves up to the infinite possibilities that the universe has in store for us. It's like relinquishing control of a sailboat to the wind, trusting that it will carry you safely to your destination. When you surrender to the flow of life, you allow yourself to be carried by the currents of divine guidance, leading you towards your dreams with effortless ease. Have faith that everything is unfolding exactly as it should, even if it doesn't seem that way in the moment. The universe has a divine plan for each of us, and every twist and turn in the journey is a part of that greater design. Your dreams are like seeds planted in the fertile soil of the universe, and with trust and surrender, they will blossom in their own perfect time. So trust in the process, trust in yourself, and trust in the universe's unwavering support. So there you have it, powerful ways to talk to the universe and manifest your dreams into reality. Set clear intentions, embody elevated emotions, practice mental rehearsal, check everything in this physical world. And then there's energy, and that energy has a consciousness, it has an awareness, and that energy is a field of information that we are an extension of, that we have access to, and that we spend so much of our life looking outside of ourselves instead of looking inside of ourselves, and that we are really conditioned to look just for particles and matter instead of energy and information. And truly, when people reach the end of their beliefs, or they're facing crisis in their life, that's the moment they start to turn within and start to ask the bigger questions. And if you were astute enough to look at this in moments of contemplation, if you were wanting to hide God anywhere, it would be a good place to hide. It would be within the human being, because everybody's looking outside of themselves, and we look for reasons to change and regulate our emotional states. You know, we think that things and people and external things will really fulfill emotions that we're trying to change within us, and that truly when we start to really investigate who we are and look to see how we do that and demystify it, I think once we start to demystify it, it can become a skill. And so Einstein was a super cool guy because he spent a lot of time inward, and at 12 years old he asked himself this simple question: if I ride my bicycle at the speed of light and I turn my lamp on, I turn my headlight on, will it go on? So he thought about that question every single day of his life, every day of his life. He would go out in a boat on a lake as a child and lay on his back in the boat and look up at the sky and think about this. And he was building models of understanding. He was working his best to be able to figure out how light and energy were related. He did it for 10 years. He was possessed by the concept. And finally, he was working as a third-rate clerk in a Swiss patent office, and he was watching this man fix the roof across the way. And he just paused for a moment, and he was watching him. And the moment he was watching him, he got this incredible vision, and he understood how light and energy were related. It was a very abstract vision, and it was so abstract and so dimensional that he had to go back to school to learn the mathematics to be able to explain what he saw. And his wife, his first wife, was an amazing scientist, and she helped him with a lot of the mathematics. And so when Einstein began to figure it out, he narrowed it down to that one simple equation that E equals mc squared, you know, energy and matter related, and the currency converter is the speed of light. And so it became very interesting, because when Einstein published his papers on relativity, he didn't say like, hey, this person said this and this person said this, and I'm going to footnote this person. He just said, ladies and gentlemen, this is how it is. And it rocked the scientific community because he didn't really need anybody else as a reference. He had a discovery, and his discovery was so unique, and his brain really was wired for the understanding of light. And light was the ceiling of this reality. And so Einstein and Planck started doing these really interesting experiments where they were taking energy and they were putting energetic impulses into metals. And what they were looking to see is if electrons behave the same way as the very large. In other words, when an apple falls from the tree, it falls in a very specific way. It falls towards the center. It falls towards the larger body. So he reasoned, well, if we disturb electrons, and him and Planck were doing these experiments, if we disturb these electrons, then they should fall just like an apple falling from the tree towards the nucleus. It should be predictable, just like it's predictable in Newtonian physics and classical physics. Well, when they started disturbing the electrons, something very unusual happened. The electron gained energy, then it lost energy, and it gained energy, and it lost energy, and it gained energy, and it lost energy. And instead of it falling like a ball rolling down a hill, it was like a ball rolling down steps. All of a sudden, they became very aware that the subatomic world, the very tiny, didn't behave like the very large world. And so then they started to look for the electron. They started to try to measure it, and everywhere they looked for it, it appeared. And when they turned their back on it and they no longer looked to measure it, it went from a particle that collapsed, called collapsing the wave function, back into energy. Now, this was a revolutionary moment because this meant that subjective mind, your mind has an effect on the objective world. That mind and matter are somehow correlated. And truly, when people reach the end of their beliefs or they're facing crisis in their life, That's the moment they start to turn within and start to ask the bigger questions. And if you were astute enough to look at this in moments of contemplation, if you were wanting to hide God anywhere, it would be a good place to hide. It would be within the human being, because everybody's looking outside of themselves, and we look for reasons to change and regulate our emotional states. We think that things and people and external things will really fulfill emotions that we're trying to change within us. And that truly, when we start to really investigate who we are and look to see how we do that and demystify it, I think once we start to demystify it, it can become a skill. And so Einstein was a super cool guy because he spent a lot of time inward, and at 12 years old, he asked himself this simple question: if I ride my bicycle at the speed of light, and I turn my lamp on, I turn my headlight on, will it go on? So he thought about that question every single day of his life. Every day of his life. He would go out in a boat on a lake as a child and lay on his back in the boat and look up at the sky and think about this. And he was building models of understanding. He was working his best to be able to figure out how light and energy were related. He did it for 10 years. He was possessed by the concept. And finally, he was working as a third-rate clerk in a Swiss patent office, and he was watching this man fix the roof across the way. And he just paused for a moment, and he was watching him. And the moment he was watching him, he got this incredible vision, and he understood how light and energy were related. It was a very abstract vision. And it was so abstract and so dimensional that he had to go back to school to learn the mathematics to be able to explain what he saw. And his wife, his first wife, was an amazing scientist, and she helped him with a lot of the mathematics. And so when Einstein began to figure it out, he narrowed it down to that one simple equation that E equals mc squared, energy and matter related, and the currency converter is the speed of light. And so it became very interesting because when Einstein published his papers on relativity, he didn't say like, hey, this person said this and this person said this, and I'm going to footnote this person. He just said, ladies and gentlemen, this is how it is. And it rocked the scientific community because he didn't really need anybody else as a reference. He had a discovery, and his discovery was so unique, and his brain really was wired for the understanding of light. And light was the ceiling of this reality. And so Einstein and Planck started doing these really interesting experiments where they were taking energy and they were putting energetic impulses into metals. And what they were looking to see is if electrons behave the same way as the very large. In other words, when an apple falls from the tree, it falls in a very specific way. It falls towards the center. It falls towards the larger body. So he reasoned, well, if we disturb electrons, and him and Planck were doing these experiments, if we disturb these electrons, then they should fall just like an apple falling from the tree towards the nucleus. It should be predictable, just like it's predictable in Newtonian physics and classical physics. Well, when they started disturbing the electrons, something very unusual happened. The electron gained energy, then it lost energy. And it gained energy, and it lost energy. And it gained energy, and it lost energy. And instead of it falling like a ball rolling down a hill, it was like a ball rolling down steps. All of a sudden, they became very aware that the subatomic world, the very tiny, didn't behave like the very large world. And so then they started to look for the electron. They started to try to measure it. And everywhere they looked for it, it appeared. And when they turned their back on it and they no longer looked to measure it, it went from a particle that collapsed, called collapsing the wave function, back into energy. Now, this was a revolutionary moment because this meant that subjective mind, your mind has an effect on the objective world. That mind and matter are somehow correlated. And so this birth of quantum physics came along. And this quantum physics experiment say that you cannot do a quantum physics experiment without an observer around. In other words, a mind always has to be present because it will influence the outcome. You with me? So now that invisible field of spirit, that invisible field of information and energy, somehow you as an individual can influence the nature of reality with your mind. The same experiences produce the same emotions. Those same emotions tend to influence the way we think. And our biology, our neurocircuitry, our neurochemistry, our hormones, and even our gene expression is equal to how we think, how we act, and how we feel. And how you think, how you act, and how you feel is called your personality, and your personality creates your personal reality. That's it. So then it makes sense then, if you want to create a new personal reality, a new life, you're going to have to change your personality, and you've got to start thinking about what you've been thinking about and change it. You've got to become aware of your unconscious habits and behaviors, even how you speak. Then you have to look at the emotions that you live by every single day and decide, do these emotions belong in my future? So many people try to create a new life as the same person. In order to create a new personal reality, you've got to change your personality. So the principle in neuroscience says that nerve cells that fire together, wire together, thinking the same way, making the same choices, demonstrating the same actions, creating the same experiences that stamp the same networks of neurons into the same patterns, all for the familiar feeling called you. And you do that for 10 years in a row, you're going to hardwire your brain into a very finite signature because you're firing and wiring that way. And that box in the brain, that becomes our personality, becomes our identity. And by the time we're 35 years old, for the most part, we've done something so many times that the body now knows how to do it as well as the mind. And that's a habit. So we have these unconscious programs of behaviors, automatic habits, redundant emotional reactions, hardwired beliefs, perceptions, attitudes that function just like a computer program. You press go and it runs automatically. So then when it comes time to change, thinking positively is going to do nothing because your body has been conditioned for the most part into a program in the past. So the thought never makes it to the body because the body's on a different program. So how do we begin to influence the body so that the thought actually produces some type of change? So think about it. If you think an unhappy thought, you're going to feel unhappy. If you think you're a failure, you're going to feel like a failure. Once you feel like a failure, you're going to think you're a failure. And people get caught in these loops of thinking and feeling and feeling and thinking. And that redundancy is a conditioning process because all you need is an image or a picture or a thought and a feeling, a response, stimulus response. And so the people tend to condition their brain and body into the past. And so when it comes time to change, you got to leave that familiar territory. And any choice that you make, if you said, hey, I'm going to eat a better diet, I'm going to wake up early and work out, I'm going to do meditation, the moment you decide to do something differently, get ready because it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel unfamiliar. There's going to be some uncertainty. You're not going to be able to predict the next moment. That means you've left your known biology and you're stepping into the unknown. Now, theoretically, that sounds great, but if the body has been conditioned into a familiar feeling, it's in the known. The moment you take it outside the familiarity, it wants to go back to where it's comfortable. So the body starts influencing the mind. And this is where people say, I want you to start your diet tomorrow. Oh, why don't you start working out this evening? You're really never going to change. You're too tired. You have a headache. This doesn't feel right. And this is where people talk themselves out of it. Because if they respond to that thought leads to the same choice, which leads to the same behavior, creates the same experience, produces the same feeling, and then they say, this feels right. No, that feels familiar. So going from one state of mind and body to another state of mind and body, you gotta cross a river. And the hardest part about change is not making the same choice as you did the day before. Now, once people understand that they're going to be uncomfortable, then the question is, what thoughts do you want to fire and wire in your brain? What behaviors will you demonstrate in one day? And the act of closing your eyes and rehearsing who you're going to be when you open your eyes begins to install neurological hardware in your brain to look like you've already done it. Now, intention is a vision, a potential that already exists in the quantum field that you get to select. And when you ask yourself a question like, what would it be like to be healthy? What would it be like to be wealthy? What would it be like to be free or to be in love? The moment you ask that creative question, a part of your brain called the frontal lobe turns on. That's the crowning achievement of the human being. Once that area of the brain turns on, it's like a great symphony leader. It looks out of the landscape of the entire brain and it begins to randomly select different networks of neurons that are connected to the things you've learned in your life or the experiences you've had. And it begins to seamlessly paste them together to create an ideal, a vision, or an internal representation. That is a potential experience that's awaiting you. But it's not enough to just have the mind involved. Thoughts are the language of the brain and feelings are the language of the body. And how you think and how you feel creates a state of being. Once you can begin to emotionally embrace that future reality before it's made manifest, when you combine that clear intention with an elevated emotion, the freedom, the joy, the inspiration, the genuine love that you feel or gratitude from that experience, the moment you do that, your body as the unconscious mind begins to believe it's living in that future reality in the present moment. Now you're moving into a new state of being, into a new personality, and a new personality creates a new personal reality. The research that we've done shows that when we teach people how to regulate their internal states, to begin to create more coherence in their brain, and to generate elevated emotions like joy and gratitude and inspiration, that not only does the brain become coherent, but so does the heart. And when the brain is coherent, the heart is coherent. When the heart is coherent, the brain is coherent. And so why don't we live by these states on a daily basis? Primarily because the majority of the time that we live in our waking state of consciousness, 70% of the time, you and I are living by the hormones of stress. And living in stress is living in survival. And when you're living in survival, the very chemicals of survival cause you to function as materialist, defining your reality with your senses. You pay attention to objects and things and people. You begin to believe that your outer world is more real than your inner world. And the side effect of this over time begins to cause us to feel separate from possibility. Why? Because when you're threatened by some predator or some danger in your life, it's not a time to go in. It's not a time to trust the unknown. It's not a time to open your heart and feel love. It's not a time to communicate. It's not a time to create. It's not a time to learn. It's a time to survive. So then, in order for us to create, we have to lay down the very thing we used our whole life to get what we want for something greater to occur. And most importantly, we want you to understand when you're in the creative state and when you're not. And if you were to take a little time every day and apply some of the principles in changing beliefs and perceptions about yourself and your life, and what is a belief other than a thought you keep thinking over and over again? And all beliefs are based on past experiences. And in order for you to change a belief or perception about yourself and your life, you have to make a decision with such firm intention that the amplitude of that decision carries a level of energy that's greater than the hardwired programs in your brain and the emotional conditioning in your body, and your body literally has to respond to a new mind. And when the choice becomes an experience that you never forget, that's the moment the past biologically no longer exists in you. People use the word victim so much, and I don't really think we spend a lot of time really unraveling the idea. But if I said to you, Jay, how are you doing today? And you said, well, I'm really upset because of this person or this circumstance or this condition in my life, then what we're saying, this is not conscious, this is an unconscious program. What we're saying is somebody out there is actually controlling the way I'm feeling and the way that I'm thinking. So if there are two key times when your body and brain are especially open to new information. The first is when you wake up in the morning. As you wake up, your brain waves shift from slow delta to theta, then alpha, and finally beta. At night, the process reverses. Your brain waves go from beta to alpha, theta, and delta. Most people fall asleep quickly, moving directly from beta to delta. By learning to slow down before bed and visualize or affirm positive thoughts, you can make lasting changes. In the morning, many people wake up and start thinking about their problems. These problems are memories linked to certain people, events, or times. When you think about these problems, you also feel the emotions associated with them. This can make you feel like you're reliving the past. Often, people wake up feeling blank and then start thinking about their issues, which brings back the associated emotions. This reinforces their sense of self and keeps them stuck in their old patterns. These emotions can shape your thoughts. For example, if you feel like a failure, you'll think of yourself as a failure, which reinforces the feeling. This cycle of feeling and thinking makes you more entrenched in your old self. Your body begins to reflect this emotional state and remains stuck in the past, believing it's always experiencing the same old emotions. Breaking this cycle means learning to live in the present moment, not the past. Many people find comfort in their familiar routines, even if they're unhappy. They often stick to these routines because they prefer the known to the uncertainty of change. To move out of the past and into the present, you need to train yourself to focus on new, positive thoughts and behaviors. When you wake up, you often check your messages, social media, and emails, which keeps you connected to your known world. You follow familiar routines and behaviors, reinforcing the past. This autopilot mode drags you into a predictable future based on your past actions. To change this, you need to focus on the present. The key is to let go of the familiar past and embrace the unknown present moment. People often fear uncertainty and believe that not knowing what will happen is a problem. However, embracing uncertainty and focusing on creating your future can lead to positive change. To make this shift, start by asking yourself what thoughts and behaviors you want to focus on each day. Visualize who you want to be and rehearse these thoughts and behaviors mentally. This practice can help rewire your brain to support new habits and future goals. Over time, this can change how you think and feel, making you more aligned with your desired future. It's important to start feeling the emotions you want to experience before they actually happen. For example, don't wait to feel gratitude until after you've achieved something. Instead, feel gratitude now. This shift from waiting for something external to change to creating feelings internally helps you start generating positive outcomes in your life. For instance, if you receive a bad diagnosis, your first reaction might be fear. Instead of focusing on this fear, practice shifting to a state of gratitude. This can help regulate your heart and brain, creating a